Alright, you guys, now the third part of mastering that you guys need to master to actually be able to be a great animator for video games, it's gonna be, and that's something that is required for any type of animation. That's the third part, and that's basically animation skill. How do you actually animate things? Alright, the timing, all that type of things, you guys, the pure animation stuff itself. Well, the way I work with something called the 12 principles of animations. Okay, I would definitely advise you guys to get the book called The Illusion of Life. Okay, let me show you right here. This is the only book you actually need to buy for animation. I'm not kidding you. Right here. Now it's killer. Now they're like on the, you know, I heard you can get them for cheap now, like 30 bucks, 27 used, you guys. That's amazing. This is a $100 book. It used to be 100 bucks, $120. It's that big, that thick. I swear you can defend yourself with it. It's that big. I'm not kidding you. Someone attack you, just knock him out in the teeth. You break his teeth just with the side. I mean, that stuff is just rock him out. All right, beat up on his head and then knock it up on top. Then no mark. All right, like the cops do. I know they do that in the U.S. and France. They don't have the right to put any marks on you, so they put stuff right there. They'll bang you on those things so it doesn't leave any marks. All right, pretty vicious. Anyway, so that book is awesome. Frankly, fun apart. You know, again, it was a little joke. Okay.
Which one do you get? Which one do you get? The Disney one?
No, the Disney one. That one right here. That actual one right there. You need to get from Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnson, you guys, you need to get The Illusion of Life, Disney Animation hardcover. That's the one. There's no other book you need as an animator. I'm not kidding you. It's basically the story of animation for Walt Disney. Okay? Walt Disney was a genius in cartoons, in comic, in drawing. He started to do drawing in the military in Germany and France after the war. I'm not kidding you. Actually, his first gig was when he was based in France for a French newspaper, doing, you know, weekly comic stuff, you know, little comic stuff for politics, something like that, you guys. And he loved it so much that he decided that when he would come back to the US, he would open an animation house. It would work, actually. He would want to work for someone that does animation, all right? And when he arrived back in the US after the military, really quickly he saw that there was no such company. There was no one doing animation whatsoever. That didn't even existed yet. All right. So he decided to open his own business, his own animation house, and he opened the first North American animation house. There was other people like him that wanted to do animation, big time, you guys. All right. But they couldn't because there was nobody to be hired from. All right. So as soon as he opened his business, well, all the best in the best actually went to knock on his door to get a job because that's what they wanted to do. So he was able to recruit the best animator on the planet, okay? And he basically told them, as of now, animation does not portray, doesn't work the way I want it to work. It doesn't basically reproduce the illusion of life. I want it to reproduce the illusion of life just by using cartoon, all right? So he told them, you need to create new principles of animations to do that. And if you can't do that, you'll get fired. He was pretty tough, okay? He kept only the best, okay? And so he would come back around and ask these guys, you know, did you get something new? And those guys, those animators worked really hard, and they, at the end, finalized a set of animation rules, okay, that would let them do their job perfectly, exactly to get to the next level, the level Walt Disney wanted to get. And those animations are called the 12 principles of animation, right here, okay? And they made a book out of them called Illusion of Life, Disney Animation, all right? So in that book, you will see the 12 principles of animation, a little bit of the Walt Disney story, a little bit at the beginning, all right? And then the animation principles that they discovered, 12 that are illustrated using Walt Disney's movie, because they use them in the movies, all right? Which doesn't get much better than that, okay? So let's look at all those principles right now. Now, you have 12 of them. Let's look at the first one. Anticipation, follow-through, overlapping action, secondary action, exaggeration, slowing, slow at, which is easy, is that squash and stretch. We'll look at the first six first. Okay. Now, squash and stretch. Okay. Squash and stretch is basically the changing in shape of an object due to a third force, due to an exterior force. Okay. It is not the changing of volume. The object does not change in volume. It doesn't get bigger. It gets stretchier or squash. Alright, you guys. What that means is that if you make a ball bouncing and your ball is right here, that shape, when it's gonna touch the ground and stretch or squash, okay, you guys, it's gonna get most likely like that, not like that. Alright, exactly, because a lot of it, that's not really realistic. That's changing its volume. That's more for a ball this size. Alright, that's more going together the same volume. That's really important, or I look silly. Okay, you guys. In video game, in cartoons, lots of squash and stretch. The more squash and stretch, the cartoonier it gets. Okay, you guys, it's very important to understand that. The more realistic you want to be, the less squash and stretch you put. So do you think in a regular, most of the video games, you want a lot of squash and stretch or not?
It depends on the game.
Yeah, most of them. Let's say Call of Duty, for example.
No.
No, why?
Because people don't squash.
Yeah, because it's not realistic. And most of the time, video game aims for realism. Because like that, you immerse inside the world. Alright, you guys? There is, just like you said, exactly samples of stuff that do not follow that rules. Okay, I got a friend right now who's making a sponge game. It's called Aquaphobia. Okay, it's a sponge like on the water. It's like a platformer on the water. Okay, because it's a sponge full of water, it will actually squash and stretch quite a bit because of that. All right, you guys. But that's just a specification of that actual principle. All right, I mean because of that game. Alright, the specification of the game will require that you have that. Most of the time you don't want that whatsoever. Okay? Now, and you can read the lecture by yourself, you guys. I'm not going to go into details. Someone really important to us, you guys, is that gentleman right here. From 1887, Edward Muybridge. Okay? Edward Muybridge was a British photographer that lived quite a bit in the US, by the way, and did quite a bit of picture on the Civil War. But one of his most famous work is known for, it's in animation, for really discovering orthographic filming. Okay, at the time of Muybridge in 19th century, so 1887, at that point, the boys, the men's, you guys, liked two things mainly. Well, besides girls, obviously, all right, was drinking and horse racing. All right, it wasn't car racing, please. We're getting recorded, my friend. It's fine, don't worry. Okay, speedos, hilarious. No, it was horse racing because there wasn't car racing at that point. It was mainly horse racing. Okay, they were really nuts for that. So the boys, Edward and his buddies, and the guys were at the pub doing what they do usually, getting a little drink of beer. All right, you guys. And after getting a couple drinks, arguing about horse racing. Okay? Some of his buddies said, no. At one point, the horse have the 4 hooves off the ground when it's running. And the other guy said, no, that's not possible. It would fail. You know, it would always have at least 1 hoof on the floor, on the ground. So they couldn't agree. So, Edward Muybridge, that was fairly smart, and that was a photographer by trade, told them, you know what, why don't we go use a track of a train, put my camera on a train track, and you know those things that goes up and down like that, all right, and follow a horse racing at the same speed and take picture orthographically flat, like a blueprint, all right, of the horse running. That one is, after that he went into actual athletes, that's after, all right, but the first one was for the horse, and they saw that it was true. At one point, the horse has the 4 hooves when it's running full speed in the air, all right. That's the main difference between walking and running, actually, all right, you guys, for a human also. You would have at one point 2 in the air when walking. You